Hello, everybody, and welcome to another great episode of My EdTech Life. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful day. And wherever it is that you're joining us from around the world, thank you, as always, for your continued support. We appreciate all the likes, the shares, the follows. Thank you so much for engaging with our content and sharing it with others. And I am so excited about today's episode. Obviously, our episodes are made possible by our wonderful sponsors. And I want to give a big shout out to Book Creator, EduAid, Yellow Dig, and our newest sponsor, Peelback Education. Thank you so much for believing in our mission to bring these conversations to life to help our educators continue to grow professionally and personally as well. And if you're interested in being a sponsor, please make sure you reach out to me at myedtech.life@gmail.com, and we can definitely get you on the show too as well. But again, enough about that. I am so excited about today. We have a repeat guest. And sometimes you may say, well, Fonz, we've already seen that guest before on your episodes, but you don't know what happens between episode to episode. And this is why I am so excited to welcome to the show Amber Ivey, who is joining us. And she has an amazing project that she has brought to life. And it's something that is going to be a game changer for our young kids here in the age of AI. So Amber was originally on her show on March 17th of 2025, or episode 317. Look it up. We'll link it because you definitely need to check that one out too, as well, as we dive in deep. But this one is more for me like a celebration, and I'm celebrating the work that Amber is doing because it is truly exciting. So Amber, welcome to the show again. How are you doing on this wonderful evening?
I am so excited to be here. One, thank you for having me back. I'm super excited to just update you on what's been going on because a lot has happened since March, and I cannot believe we're already in November and almost at the holidays. But we are here, and I'm super excited to chat with you today.
Exactly. And I'm excited too. But before we dive in, Amber, because I am really excited and I know you and I already warmed up and
Oh
ready to
yeah.
go for this chat. But before we dive into that, there may be some new listeners and that may not be familiar with your work just yet. They haven't checked out episode 317. So if you can give us a little introduction and what your context is within the education AI space.
So I have a weird background. My background's in data and performance management and AI, but not for edutainment or education or ed tech, more so for government. So I started my work in that space and I've been helping government use those tools to make decisions for the people they serve. Then insert ChatGPT, the year, the month, November, actually, 3 years ago now, that changed all of our lives. Where I immediately saw as I was talking about these things for adults in my day job, and even I had a podcast focused on talking about these topics. I saw immediately parents and adults had a weird reaction, right? As we get older, things get a little bit more scary. But I do know my niece, she says, "Hey, Alexa," all the time, and was talking to AI and smart speakers way before she had access to a laptop or any other smart device. So I realized I probably needed to start a little bit earlier. So I now focus on AI for adults through my day job, and then at night, AI for kids.
I love that. And so that is very interesting because the two worlds that you are working in have really helped bring this to light and just bring everything together for you. And I love the fact that, as in you're working with adults, you're taking a lot of those topics, a lot of those skills, and the way that you're able to translate them and for a 4-year-old, for an 8-year-old, for a 12-year-old, for some parents, and make it easy to understand for them. I think that that is something fantastic. And you mentioned your podcast, and your podcast is great. It is AI for Kids. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you check it out. We'll link it in the show notes. Make sure you subscribe. Or you can also visit Amber's website at AiDigiCards, where you will find all things AI for kids and the work that Amber is doing. But Amber, going back to this, and I know you got from the previous show, we talked a little bit more about obviously the importance of teaching our students the ethics of AI and using it properly. And we've seen so much happen in that landscape. But now you have come up with a wonderful, let's say, screen free way for students or young kids and parents to be able to learn these concepts. So tell us about this project and what brought this to fruition.
So it all started for me back to when I told you November happened. So before all of that, I don't know if I talked about this last time we were on the podcast, but I had an AI for adult podcast around AI. My voice is also trained in an AI avatar. Like this is back in like 2021 before it was cool. And her name is Clara and she travels the world and she was interacting with kids to help kids like get more access to AI because the Siri is a real human's voice, but it sounds a little bit more robotic. So they asked me to be the voice. So she travels the world from here to Dubai. She was on Telemundo. Like she lives a life. So I've been in this space, led projects on this space for some time. So 2022 happened November. Everyone was like, "What's happening? Let's ban it in schools or let's access it." Like the pendulum for where people were was all over the place. And in that moment, I realized back to like my niece using things like Alexa or playing in some of these tools like Roblox that have AI integration, or thinking about Netflix or YouTube that literally, sorry, there's like algorithms and AI components in there that are actually like saying to our kids what they should watch or shouldn't watch. So I was like, I need to meet kids where they are. And it started with the book, AI Meets AI, about a little girl named Addie Iris who meets a robot named Jazz, who was lost from JHU. I'm right near JHU, and JHU has some amazing AI labs there and robotics labs. And I really wanted kids to see themselves as not just users and hey, Alexa or okay, Google of these technologies, but could see themselves as creators. The book did well. I self-published, which is did well shockingly without a publishing company. So yes, still selling, still doing well in this category. And then I was like, wait, something else needs to happen here, which is where AI Digitals came from, which was like, I want to talk about AI through stories. Started doing workshops for kids, switching from adults to kids. And then also, same time, I still do workshops in the day for AI for adults as well, but also started doing it for kids in schools and things like that. And then I was like, all right, the book is not enough. What is next? The workshops happened, then launched the podcast, AI for Kids, which really focuses on interviewing both adults and kids about these technologies and getting into like the nitty gritty of like, why is it good? Why is it bad? How can you do it? How can you use it? And allowing kids another screen free way, because they're just audio, screen free way to hear and understand what it is. And fast forward after that, I was like, okay, I can't be in all places with these workshops, just not possible. People may or may not find the book as well, but what is something else I can get into the hands of folk? And as I was interviewing people, and we also have a series on our podcast that we wrap next Tuesday called the ABCs of AI, I was like, there's something there. And I had heard really good feedback from those different podcasts, how people play them in their classroom, how parents are learning. Someone sent me a video of their 4-year-old talking about an algorithm. First of all, I could not say algorithm at 4. This 4-year-old could. And I was like, all right, there's a there. So, like, drum roll, please. That's when I came up with the idea of something called AI DigiCard. Now, I know you're wondering what's going on with all this AI Digi or whatever. AI Digitals, AI DigiCards. But what AI DigiCards are, they're a screen-free way for kids to be introduced to AI through like storytelling, activities, like put take it away from the screen. We don't have to throw kids on the screen to learn about AI. Think about all the things we learned in school through in theory classes where it was just reading a book. Think about all the songs you learned about, like think about Schoolhouse Rock. How did you learn about a bill? The first time you learned about a bill was through that song, I'm Just a Bill, or whatever it was, Barney cleanup song. A lot of things happen through song and activity that stick in our mind. Whereas something that we may have like learned in the book, we can't say on page 365 of this biology book, I remember this thing, but you do remember what it means to like be in the lab or be interactive. So I'm like, we can do that with AI. So let's start with the deck. Our first deck is the ABCs of AI, mostly because we've already been talking about the topic and we're offering kids the ability to interact with AI, 130 different cards, 5 cards per letter, in 5 different modalities because kids learn differently. And we're trying to keep the education and entertainment together so that kids can remember this. And we're the beginning of this. So as the kids get the concepts later, like when we sung the Bill song, we didn't know what the heck a bill was or what was going on. But then when we got to like later on in life, like, oh, I know what this is and I can connect it. So we're like the very beginning and basics of that. First deck is ABCs of AI for kids ages 4 to 8, and we hope to expand to 9 to 12 in our next deck that's focused on the ABCs as well.
I love it. And one of the things that I do want to highlight that you did mention is the screen time. And you and I had talked about a little bit warming up for the chat how parents are limiting that screen time and are now opting from the fancy, wonderful computers,
Oh, yeah.
supercomputer phones, and now going back to what would be a flip phone or a phone that is really restricted as far as what the student can access. They may be able to
100%.
access just the important apps, the phone numbers and so on. But I think that you doing interviews, knowing parents, hearing their thoughts and seeing that many parents have that I guess that fear because of what is happening. And we hear a lot of stories through, of course, character AI and a lot of
Mhm.
AI chatbots. So being able to provide them with a way to learn the concepts and like you said, that taking those hard concepts that you would normally work with adults and really, I guess, molding them in such a way, not necessarily dumbing them down because that's not what we're doing, but
Right.
putting them and packaging them in a way that a 4 to 8 year old and a parent can understand and they can have conversations together in multiple modalities and or activities in multiple
Yeah.
modalities, I think is something that is fantastic. And I'd love to hear a little bit more as far as for 4 through 8 year olds and the parents that would be using these cards and interacting with them at home, what would you like to be their biggest takeaway after, playing with the cards and learning the concepts there?
I think, to your point of around the screen time, I think a lot of people assume that the only way for kids to learn about AI, which I see a lot of adverse reactions to the idea of AI for kids. So normally people are like, AI for kids, no, keep the AI away from our kids, which I understand 100%. But for me, it's like the way you introduce it. Should we hand a 4-year-old an app and a chat bot? No, absolutely not. Can we sit at the table and play a game with the 4-year-old that talks about an algorithm or talks about ethics or teaches them some of the basics of like what is an AI robot or what have you, and help them think about like things that could be fake online or whatever it is to help them get early understanding? We totally should. And I understand parents, and I hear this all the time, and there's studies that show this as well. Parents are banning or reducing screen time. Like 70% of parents in a recent survey are reducing screen time. There's also these screen-free movements. There are parents, in communities, either to your point, either in affluent communities or who like even Gen Z and Gen A are also saying, "I want my life back." Let's just have a regular flip phone because in case of emergencies, you should have that. We do not need to have smartphones in classrooms. I hear teachers complain all the time about like having a smartphone. They have to fight for the attention of that. The dopamine that's being
Mhm.
released and all these things that we know are happening with screen time addiction, with the loneliness epidemic, with these different apps that are like building relationships with our kids. Now they're in toys. Like Mattel is about to put AI into toys. There's a bunch of little AI tools out there that exist, right? So if we know these things are coming, we want to make sure kids understand it. I want to put this back into the parents' hands and the kids' hands for when they're ready and they can still learn about these concepts so they don't feel like they're behind, but they allow them to do it in a way that they're comfortable with. Like the thing I say is like AI learning or AI literacy should start at the kitchen table, not on the tablet. And right now, a lot of boot camps will hand your kid a tablet. We don't want our
Yes.
kids in those ecosystems, the data being trained on them. Our cards don't train on your data. Our cards don't even know who you are. Like, unless you write your name on it and you know whatever it is, we have no idea, right? And we will not have that data on your family, but your family will have a good experience. And this is just deck one of many that are going to come.
That is wonderful, and I absolutely love that again, you're providing a wonderful resource for parents. When I worked with parents and we would do our Technology Tuesdays and we would talk about digital safety, digital citizenship, all of those things, it's the parents, there is a need there, but sometimes they feel overwhelmed because they don't know where to start. There is so much information, but when you're able to condense it and be able to provide them with whether literature or some resources that they can go ahead and take in and have those conversations with their child. I think that's something that's fantastic. And here they have something that is ready made where it is not something that is very ominous to them and
Right.
very scary to them that they will feel uncomfortable with. It's something that they can all do together. And like you said, sitting at the kitchen table together as a family, going through the cards. A is for algorithm, Q is for quantum, and things of that sort. And talking about that, where later on, as the students continue to grow and parents are listening to the news or listening to whatever's out there, they start making those connections too as well, like you did mention before. And so I love that the cards will also, pique parent and child's curiosity, their creativity, but will also help them in their confidence as well.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
want to, yeah. So I want to ask you, was that the idea to link these three things into AI literacy? Because right now, at least in the world that I'm in the education space, and I know you hear it too, the term AI literacy, but there's so many definitions, and sometimes you're like, what does this even mean? It's like you say a word so many times that it loses its meaning and you don't know what it is. But
So
kind of
true.
like I want to ask you, because I think like the curiosity, creativity, and that confidence component really build nicely into this wonderful exercise in AI literacy.
100%. One of the things I hear the most from parents or teachers, this is also for teachers, though, like having a classroom, and I know teachers are really excited about it as well. But I hear they're afraid of, I call them the four C's. They're afraid of AI taking the curiosity, AI taking away confidence, AI taking critical thinking. I forgot my other C. There's another C in there, the
Collaboration,
curiosity. Curiosity.
curiosity.
Yes, curiosity is the fourth C. They're afraid of AI taking those things. And in reality, like we're seeing early studies that show like critical thinking does go away. These other things do go away when we use AI and rely on it too much. And AI in this sense, I'm saying, talking about LLMs, there are a lot of different types of excuse me, AI, but LLMs is like the main one that we're all talking about right now. So how can we make sure that kids using AI or learning about AI and LLMs or these other foundational components to the AI that is publicly open to us, how do we make sure to be flipping on its head? So for us, instead of taking away curiosity, critical thinking, confidence, and I forgot my fourth C. I will get it later. But taking away the C's, we flip it on its head to make sure that we give that back. So think about if you have a definition card, there's a definition up there. But the thing that's really cool about it is beyond the definition that's easy to understand for a kid or a parent. The parent doesn't have to feel like anxiety, like helping a kid with, I remember like thinking about helping a kid with a homework and seeing that things have changed since we went to school and then like math is new. Like if I hear about new math one more time, my head is gonna explode. But like how kids are doing things are different. Our cards that doesn't matter. You can be a parent who's never understood AI concept. You can talk about the definition and under every single activity definition or whatever the main modality is for the card, there's a question or something that you can do that further enhances that allows the conversation to continue so that every time you interact, it could be a different discussion and whatever. And that allows the card deck to continue to grow with the kid. The other piece I didn't say is that at some point, parents do want their kids to get online, right? Or we also target this for kids who do not have access to screens. So this is for individuals who don't want their kids to be on screens or who do not have access, right? But when we get to the point where you think your kids are ready or your access increases, we have digital expansion packs that are coming on board as well. So then you can go online and a very like working with partners who we trust and different modalities are not modalities, different tools and things that we trust for you to try things out with your kid in a very secure and safe environment when you are ready. But that's totally optional. You can still learn about all the AI concepts without ever going online. So that's what I'm excited about. And I just can't wait to get it in the hands of human beings and have kids out there playing around and testing them.
And that's something that's very exciting because I think that this is something so refreshing because again, going back and talking to about screen time and I myself, working as an assessment coordinator, I mean, talk about screen time. The students have to practice continually on computers, a lot of the curriculum, a lot of the books, like pretty much it's like you're on a Chromebook all day long for the most part. And
Mhm.
as teachers, like you mentioned before, having to fight for that attention and being able to, I mean, it's almost like really like you're creating TikTok videos like right then on the spot because you have 3 seconds to get them hooked into what you're doing
So true.
and probably about 5 minutes at most of attention span. And then, all right, let's go. But I mean, having something like this, and again, now with this younger generation and these 4 and 8 year olds that may get these hands on these cards, or 4 through 8 year olds that may get the hands in these cards, and the parents, I think that this is something fantastic now because then a lot of those students are already going to learn the concepts. They're learning actively. And again, once as they continue to grow and move through school, and then, of course, the availability of those expansion packs where now that card can come to life as in, for example, where I'm learning about algorithm here. What does that look like
Yeah,
on a computer program, and
exactly
things of
right.
that sort, and understanding those things. And then you really start to build that literacy, not only just the knowledge of the definition, but also being able to see it in action. And I think that that is something that is fantastic, that as they continue to grow and mature, the parents might feel still a little bit better that their child at an early age knows the difference or can tell maybe just even outputs, understanding like what is a real output, what is not a real output.
That is
And
one of our words.
yeah, and especially now, Amber, with the way that video is getting, that for many young adults that are and young kids that are have been on living on YouTube for a
Yeah.
very long time, even for them, it's very hard to tell what is real and what is not. And so I'm glad that there is a wonderful resource, a tool that parents can use and work together with their parents. So I want to ask you too, just on your experience, because I know that there was a lot of research that had to have gone into producing these cards and talking to a lot of parents and so on. So within that scope, what were some of the more surprising ethical or privacy concerns that you might have observed or heard from parents when you're talking about the cards
Yeah.
and what they can do? So tell us a little bit about that, just so we can, as educators, also
Mhm.
hear a little bit about what parents are thinking.
Some of the thing one of the let me answer the surprise, and I'll talk about some of the other things I heard. One of the things that's interesting is, like, this hype around AI, and also around the hype, like, parents are a little bit concerned because their kids know more than them, which I don't think is a bad thing, and what that means. So, because of the hype and because AI is integrated in a lot of their, devices, parents are literally saying like, "Hey, my kid is using this thing. I don't know what they're doing. They know it better than me." I've also seen this like on the ground, doing like live workshops with kids. I can show them a image, a video. They're more likely to identify a fake than an adult, which is good. And it's actually amazing. I think we don't give kids as much credit as we should. And this is like, I'm not talking about middle schoolers. Like this is in even my elementary classes where kids literally, when I do the same like type of test with adults to kids, kids get it right more often. So I think we don't give kids as much credit. They're growing up in this world a little bit more skeptical. They kind of know. And then I ask them, I'm like, how do you know this isn't AI? They're able to, or this is AI or it's real. It has this, it has the lighting is wrong. I'm like, the lighting is wrong. Second grade. Or if you look at the whiskers of the cat, like a cat would never let you get that close. Like the different images I show, you could never take a picture of a cat. And I'm sitting here like, okay. We think that they don't get it, but that's the only world they know, and I think we forget that when you grow up in the world that you're presented, you adjust to it, and I think the kids have done an amazing job of adjusting to it. However, along the same side of things is I am learning that kids aren't treating it like they should in certain ways, and that like I always and I've talked to people about this, but my rule is like take the old school rules and apply them to the technology. What do I mean by that? You learn very early on offline, don't talk to strangers, don't give out your address, don't send anyone your image, don't like do any of those things. Same things apply to an AI tool. So don't talk to strangers in AI means don't go download an app that you don't know anything about and no one has vetted. That's a stranger. You don't know who that is. Don't take a picture of your face, to put into a different tool. Don't share your address. Don't do any of those things. So it's also like, parents are trying to figure out how do they take those skills that they already shared and brought it in. And the other piece is that kids have been doing this forever. When there's a bunch of rules around something, kids are going to figure out how to get around it and they're going to share how to get around it. And parents are spending a lot of time. I'm on a lot of different threads and a lot of different community groups as well where parents are spending a bunch of time like trying to share each other the tips that the kids have already figured out. It's actually better if you just talk to the kid and like make it an open space for them to share what's happening and for that dialogue to happen. And you'll go much further. The parents who I've seen like give access with protection around it have seen better outcomes with those different things that we're dealing with in this generation.
I
But the
love
main
that.
one that's most surprising to me is they get it way better than we do, even at
Yeah.
elementary school level.
That is great. And that's so good to hear, And again, because you're absolutely right. Sometimes we don't give our students, that benefit that they do or can tell. I mean, right now when you mentioned that as far as lighting, I was like, I would have never thought of maybe even looking at lighting or anything.
Never.
They're focused on, from my era, from what I know, and I may miss it. And they don't because they know the video games, the way the lighting works, whatever it is.
So true.
And so, yeah, very true. The other thing that I love is the way that you talked about, creating an open space and just to be able to have a discussion, that safe space where let's talk about these questions. And again, going to back to the cards, being able to open that up and have those discussions. But I want to ask you too, in your experience, what are some of the things that you would like to dispel or to
Mhm.
correct for educators and parents when they say AI for kids? Wait, no way. Like they're too young. They'll learn it later. What are some things that you wish that you can share with a lot of parents or educators? And right now is the time to do it on our podcast.
So I will say this. The federal government at the federal government level is really pushing for AI literacy. We have a
Mhm.
bunch of different curriculum that are out there. We also use some of this curriculum in our actual cards as well. We don't consider ourselves an education tool. We're an edutainment tool. So both you're introduced to it, but also you're entertained and interacting in that way. So curriculum like Day of AI, AI for K-12, like those different curriculum are out there for those who are a little bit nervous about that. The thing I would say to your direct question is you can either teach them AI or AI would teach them about AI. So we can choose either one because in the reality is we all know that if you and I talk about any product right now and there's an ad on my phone, as soon as we open our phone, if you have your mic on for certain apps, we will have a product that's scrolling and telling us. Now, imagine when private sector or big tech companies are deciding they want your kids and their attention, because the reality is, and this is something that I think is important that I've learned even before this, is that when you get a kid at a young age, you have them as a customer for life. What do I mean by that? How many of us are now, as millennials or whatever, Gen X, Gen Y, boomers, or whatever, how many people are going back to find the things they got from their childhood? Or how many people are going now to
Yes.
show their kids Aladdin live action because that's also what they watched growing up? And how many people have spent so much money trying to relive your childhood because they realize if I get you as a kid, I have you for life. Animals from childhood right now are going on eBay for hundreds of dollars. I wish I would have saved my stuffed animal because sell them all, but that's what is happening. So they know they can get our kids at an early age. So you have Google, you have ChatGPT, you have all these different AIs, even Grok, who should not be in the kid business, not dissing Grok anyway, but they shouldn't be in the kid business. They have other stuff they got going on. But all these different tools are going to kids because if they catch a kid at this age, they have a customer for life. And at the end of the day, it started as research, but it is really about money now. So if we know that, we need to make sure that we are helping those kids who are
Yeah.
now going to be targeted with ads that know you better than your mother, that know you better than yourself. We need to make sure they know what is happening because even now as adults, we're getting trapped into it and we're watching certain shows because Netflix told us what to watch. And now all of our Netflix shows are 99% of what we watch are YouTube, or we've now bought thousands of dollars worth of stuff because of ads. Like now put that in the hands of a kid. So we want to make sure kids know about AI before AI knows them and before AI starts to tell it about itself. We need to make sure they know. And I take that stance and I don't think it has to happen with a tablet. I think there's ways, there's books. There are people who are also getting into the screen free movement to try to help kids. And I hope more people get into this movement for AI in particular. Like for example, ChatGPT is going to come out with if they haven't already, which I agree or don't disagree, we're not going to talk about that, but it's a version of Chat ChatGPT that's just like a box that you can talk into. Some other AI companies have tried it as well. I think one was called Rabbit in the past, but they're
Yes.
trying to come out with these things that aren't screen free. There's also a necklace called Friend that kind of follows you. I don't think you should call AI friend, but there are certain things I don't agree with. But there are these tools that are coming that are screen free, but they still collect a bunch of data. How can you make
Yeah.
sure you give kids access to this without the data? And the reality is, everyone is selling an AI app now. Everyone has overlaid some UX or user interface or user experience that's exciting on top of mostly ChatGPT or these other LLMs. It's still ChatGPT. It wasn't built for a kid. And that's an area of a problem. If you're going to introduce kids in your classroom to AI, or if your school district is going to do it, it needs to be an AI that was built for kids, not a wrapper, meaning a tool that's just using ChatGPT with a different wrapper on the outside. We should never do that. Check with those companies to make sure it was built for kids in mind. It has all the certifications it needs, and use that. But ChatGPT with a edutainment or excuse me, education or ed tech overlay on it for kids is the wrong approach. So teachers, I get that, but make sure they're doing the right things as they build these tools out for your kids.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that you brought up a great point there. And that is something that from the very beginning, November 2022, when this started coming out, I really got into just looking at terms of service and things of that sort. And as
Mhm.
we know, a lot of the platforms do connect to ChatGPT, they connect to Claude, they connect to
Right.
other large language models. And again, like you mentioned, it's just something that is overlaid over those models that although those models will tell you this is not for anybody younger than 18, then but on the wrapper itself it'll say, oh, it's safe for students
So
from 11 to 18 or whatever the case is. But you're absolutely right, it is still overlaid upon ChatGPT. However, because of the writing and everything, I don't know how the checks that really go into a new app when
yeah.
it just they can simply write, hey, I've got COPPA, FERPA, I've got all
Mhm.
of that. And then all of a sudden schools just see those initials and they're like, oh, okay, here we go. We're good to go. And maybe the data storage isn't even in the US and it's
So
overseas. So
true.
now where is your data going? So there's definitely a lot of things to think about there. But I love the fact that you are doing something great for that future that is here. The students
Yeah.
that are coming in that are going to be having or be exposed to this at a lot younger age than we were. Now they're going to be better prepared. Their parents are going to be better prepared. And I think that that is something that is great that we are preparing them as opposed to before. A lot of people is just ban it altogether, keep it
Yeah.
away. It's not going to go away, but what can we do to help our students just really understand the risks and how it works and so on? So that's why I've always said, like, I've always been a cautious advocate and just kind of being in the
Same.
middle. And sometimes when I feel like I'm leaning to, like, yes, this is it, this is going, and then all of a sudden you see something in the news and I'm like, all right, I'm right back over here. But it's okay. And that's what these conversations are about. And this is what is wonderful about what you are doing, Amber, and the work that you're doing. I love the fact that what you are doing through the cards, the students are now going to have exposure to the terminology. They're going to have exposure to the language, the vocabulary that as they continue to grow and progress. And of course, the technology continues to grow and progress.
Oh
They
yeah.
have a better understanding. And like you mentioned earlier, at that young age, now they're going to be able to make and connect those dots, and it's
Right.
going to be something that is fantastic. So I love it. I love the work that you're doing. But Amber, I just kind of want to flip it on you a little bit. We're going to change
Okay.
this because I just want to ask you, as a personal reflection, and maybe I might catch you off guard with this question. But and the reason that I asked this is because from the first time that you were on the show back in March episode 317 till now, we're getting close to December. You've done a lot and you've brought a lot of great content for young kids,
Thank you.
bringing in adults to be able to speak, to young kids through your podcast and your book. But did you ever imagine, yourself as a kid in the whole pre-AI era when we were, still with, or I was playing with Transformers and I was playing with Hot Wheels and so on. But did you ever imagine that you would be working within this space, in this intersection of where you are working with data analytics, AI, and now you're doing AI literacy for kids. Did you ever imagine yourself doing that? And if not, like, how do you feel about it now?
So the funny thing is, I never imagined that one, but when I look at it, all the skill sets I have make sense. So I've always struggled with, like, for example, I told you during my day job, I do this work for government, but even like for the last in Baltimore City in particular, that's why I live high, folks. In Baltimore City in particular, I've been volunteering with the National Urban League since 2012. And in that, we have this program called the Saturday Leadership Program, as well as a few other programs that focus on helping kids to see all the beautiful universities here at within Baltimore. We have so many universities, so we take kids over the school year to different universities to help see themselves there. So I've always had an interest in kids and the next generation, and always been focused on kids in that way. And I've always had a creative brain. So data is logical and but also allows me to be creative if I'm doing things around like visualizations. But I finally feel like all my skill sets can come together now that I have the AI for kids component. Did I see myself here? No. Were all the components and all the breadcrumbs there? 100%.
I love it. That is fantastic. And then just one more question before we wrap up as a just a
Mhm.
kind of personal reflection. And I've asked this question before to previous guests, but I would definitely, with the work that you've done, and I think that I would love to hear your answer on this. So I want to ask you, what keeps you up at night in a good way about
Okay.
AI, kids, and education, and what excites you the most?
I thought you were gonna ask me a bad way. I was like, oh. Okay. So what keeps me up in at night in a good way is that it's not gonna be a good way. It's gonna be a good way, kinda.
Mhm.
Let me say that. So I the thing that keeps me up at night, like if I'm being real about just that part of the question without the good way, is that kids have different levels of access to technology. My background as a kid, both my parents were military, moved around a lot. And I saw very early on, every time we moved to a different zip code, there were very different outcomes for kids. Very different technology that was available in our schools, and technology can mean even a book, right? That's a form of a technology if you look at it that way. And when AI came out, I was just like, what really led to that first book is like, I want kids to make sure they're ready for this because AI can be used, which is the good thing about what keeps me up at night. AI can be used to close so many gaps to help kids explore, to help people who are already like creating companies and like able to sustain their families using these tools. Like there's so much good there. But the flip side is if we don't get it right, we're going to leave a whole lot of people behind. And this could be a great bridge. So that's what keeps me up at night is like this thing can solve a lot of our problems that we've had in society. And we have to do that right. And I'm really excited about the potential of that happening. And then,
Excellent.
thank you. And then just in general, is just I really wanna make sure that all kids, and this is one of my other taglines, all kids, no matter their zip codes, have the ability to get introduced to AI in a way that's screen-free, that protects their curiosity, their creativity, their critical thinking, and their confidence, and allows them to be the best little humans they can be. I also say this because we don't want robots, we want kids. So let kids be kids, not robots, and that's so important to me. And I think that with AI and with what I'm creating with AI DigiCards, we have a chance to do that, as well as others who are thinking about screen-free options for kids.
Excellent. Well, Amber, this has been a fantastic conversation. I am so excited and so thrilled. Just again, the work that you've done up until this point, the work that you continue to do, and this mission that you are on is something that is wonderful. And I really appreciate that we have fine educators like yourself that are doing these things because it's something that is so important. And just trying to get in front of all of this and being able to help out those parents and being able to help out those young kids through your book, through your podcast, and now through AI DigiCards. So I want to ask though, because I know that this was on Kickstarter.
Mhm.
We will link this in the show notes as well, but I know that I'm not sure the way Kickstarter works. So
Yeah.
do we still have time for any listeners to really get in and be able to purchase or be able to back your project? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so we're on Kickstarter. We got funded within 13 hours, so that means we're going print. So I'm really excited about that. So we have 19 more days left in our Kickstarter. It actually ends on my birthday, December 3rd. Early birthday to me. So make sure you check it out. But the thing about the Kickstarter is to allow us to fund that first set of cards. We're now working on our stretch goal since we hit the first goal, which is to get to those digital expansion packs, which I'm really excited about. But if you go on Kickstarter right now and you choose one of the different levels that has a card deck in it, you'll get the card deck. There's also the ability for people who may say, hey, I don't have kids in my life, but I want to gift it to a school. There's ability to back a classroom, back a school, or just get a pack to send to someone. It also comes with a poster that also have the ABCs of AI that can be printed out. It comes with like a cool little luggage or book bag tag. Each one comes with a different thing. And for everyone who backs us, you will have your name either via a QR code, depending on the level, or your name actually on a card within every single deck. So people will be able to see that you actually helped back this and make it come to life. And I'm really excited about that. So yes, depending on the day, as long as it's before December 3rd that this comes out, please go to our Kickstarter and then choose where you want to back us. And these cards are going to print. Our hope is that we'll have them to you all by early next year.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited. I know I saw the project. I was like, all right, I'm in. I definitely want to support just a
Thank you.
wonderful, wonderful mission that you are doing. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited that it's going to be autographed too, as well. So I'm not
Oh,
going to
yeah.
lie. I'm not going to lie. I'm really excited about that too. But that's fantastic. Amber, again, thank you so much for being on the show. And again, before we wrap up, here are 3 lightning round questions. So here we go. Question
Okay.
number 1. As we know, every superhero has a pain point or weakness. So for Superman, kryptonite was his weakness and I guess his pain point. So I want to ask you, Amber, in the current state of, we'll say, AI in education, what
Okay.
would you say would be your current kryptonite?
That is hard. I would say it's balancing the benefit of the technology with the default. And for me, it's like this whole idea of deep fakes. As I told you all earlier, my voice is on an AI. So my kryptonite right now is like using people's voices when they didn't get permission. I gave permission for mine, my voice is licensed, but now people are being able to take it and use it in different ways. And I think that actually takes away from it and doesn't make the AI movement as strong when things like that are happening.
All right, good answer. Thank you. Question number 2. If you could have a billboard, and we'll say there in right smack in the middle of Baltimore,
Okay.
and that your billboard could have anything on it, what would it be and why?
It would literally probably say one of the quotes I said earlier. It would say, all kids deserve access no matter their zip code. And that's access to AI, access to math, access to cool learning labs, access to all things. Like we live in a generation where we have all this technology. If we have it, let's make sure we give kids access to do what it is they need to do or the information they need to at least get it for themselves.
Excellent. Great answer. And the last question, Amber, if you could trade places with a single person for a day, who would that be and why?
I would say Mackenzie Scott, mainly because she is giving out so much money to so many different organizations and like they're not even having to ask for it. I just want to be in her shoes to just see like what is her thought process? How is she finding these organizations? She's given for folks who don't know, she is her husband is a former her ex-husband is a former or is a current tech exec and she got a lot of money through their divorce and she has been doing so much stuff for HBCUs, women-owned businesses, like, minority-owned businesses. She's just cutting checks that they've never seen before. Put me in those shoes for a day just to see how she does it and how she gets there. I think it's so cool to have that type of impact and giving money out at that level that's changing lives,
Yeah.
changing students' lives, and is really helping a lot of universities as well, especially, in the current funding environment.
Excellent. Well, that is a great answer. So, Amber, thank you so much again for being a guest on our show. And
Thank
again,
you
it's
for
an
having me.
honor to have you here. Again, I am a big fan of your work. And please make sure to all our listeners, if you do not follow Amber yet, please make sure that you check out the link in the show notes. Make sure you follow on LinkedIn. Make sure you follow on Instagram. Subscribe to the pod because it is fantastic. So, if you are an educator, for education professional, and you're listening to this and you have kids, I would definitely put this on road trips and allow your kids to listen to it because you will find some wonderful content for them. Make sure you check out the book too as well and be on the lookout for those AI digicards. So again, Amber is doing some wonderful things where, like she mentioned earlier, she cannot be at all the places, but she can definitely bring that knowledge and passion and that vision to all the places through all these multiple means for your students. So again, Amber, thank you so much. And for all our
Thank
audience
you.
members, please make sure you visit our website, myedtech.life, where you can check out this amazing episode and the other 342 episodes. So I promise you, you will find a little something there that, or little knowledge nuggets there that you can sprinkle onto what you are already doing great. And again, a big shout out to our sponsors. Thank you so much, Book Creator, EduAid, Yellow Dig, Peel Back Education. It really means the world to me that you believe in our mission to bring these great conversations into our space. And again, my friends, until next time, don't forget, stay techie.